Pretty much every new fighting game that's coming out, KOF 15, Guilty Gear Strive, and hopefully Street Fighter 6, are dropping with rollback netcode. And if they don't, the game is pretty much dead on release. It's unplayable online, and that's a really big deal right now. So I want to talk about a few games that don't have rollback that I hope get the update soon. And I know a ton of you guys have played a bunch of different fighting games that I've never even touched, so let me know what games you want to see rollback in the comments down below. So the first game that's probably not a surprise to most of you is Granblue Fantasy Versus. This is a game that never really got it shot online or offline. It came out a month before the pandemic started and before we had to lock down, and we couldn't even play this game at all. I went to a total of one local that was able to run it literally a week before COVID was becoming a huge deal, and it was really fun to watch. Visually, it's very appealing to the spectators. The pace of the game, I feel like, is actually very good. It feels like Street Fighter in a sense. It's more grounded, but the pacing is not as slow as Street Fighter. It's a very good middle ground for somebody like me who doesn't really play anime games, but is interested in that design and like those kind of games. I think it was a good in-between. It's also one of the few games that I completely dropped Street Fighter for about 2 months. I just played online when I could, when there's like a ton of people on it, and you could find matches in your area. I actually ended up buying it twice. I double dipped on this game, and I bought like the Hong Kong version so I could play it a month early on the PS4 or something like that. And then I bought it again on the PC, which in hindsight was a terrible idea. Like there's really no reason to spend $120 on that game, but I enjoyed it. I don't really regret it. The balancing in the game now, I don't really know. I think it's been tweaked a lot since I've played, but whenever it started, Gran and Catalina were the two best, and the problem was they were also the like simplest characters, the most well-rounded characters as well. So they were like the Ryu and Ken if they were the best characters in the game. And it was a problem because they're well-rounded characters, so they're supposed to be good at everything. They're supposed to be decent at everything, but they were actually really good at everything. And I was a huge scrub. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing. I'd just play Catalina and hit people with far normals and then convert it into the auto combo and kill them. I did play Narmaya for a little bit, but I just didn't really see a point when Catalina was so good. I think it was a game that balanced simplicity with some complex things that you could do on certain characters very well. Overall, it was a very simple game, and it came in a very simple package, but if you wanted to add the complexity to it, you could. And it was mostly through combo structure, because of course there's auto combos that you can mash if you want to, but what some people would do, like on Catalina, for example, is you could do 2 parts of the auto combo and then do a different finisher and then add things on and like make the combos a little bit more custom and more optimal. That's where the optimization came, was like not using the auto combos as much and actually doing real combos. The other thing that was very interesting was the cooldown system. So there was a special button in that game where you could press it with a direction and then certain attacks would come out. And if you use that, it would put your attack on a little bit longer of a cooldown than if you did the motion. Overall, there was a lot of systems in that game that I hope to see in future ArcSys titles that cater towards like beginners, you know? Options that you could use if you wanted to, if you were new, and you don't have to if you're like a veteran player. Or you could mix them in if you're a veteran player. I also hope to see an ArcSys game that has that same pacing. I know it's a little bit slower, I know it's a little bit more like Street Fighter, and not everybody's gonna like it, but I did. That's just my personal opinion. The second game I wish would get rollback is Dragon Ball FighterZ. Now, this is one of those games that I don't really play, and I played very casually for a small amount of time just to mess around with some characters, but I actually really love watching it. I watch House of Chaos. I'll watch most events that they put on. I just think it's really hyped to watch at the highest level. I just personally don't feel like grinding it out and learning all that stuff online. But I wish the people and the community who loves that game and who has stuck by it for 6 years now could get the rollback netcode that they're asking for. It would just be really cool as purely a spectator to see some of my favorite players be able to play each other from across the country, or to just be able to play their fucking game online, period, you know? This game and Tekken, I think, are like 2 of the delay-based games that I guess you would say made it. There's still people playing the game, even though they have to fight with the online to do it. And I think as a developer, you should reward that support from your community. You know, they still run this game at a ton of events. They still play it online. They still run online events for the game. And they still play in those like World Series, whatever the shit is called, the DBFZ World Series. I don't know the actual name for it. But the pro players are still playing in it. They still like the game, and that's something very special. Even if it has to come back as DBFZ 2 or DBFZ Arcade Omega LOL Edition, I'm sure a lot of the community would be willing to. I don't even play the game, and I would be willing to pay for an update or pay for a new version of the game where it could be played online. That game has gone through so many iterations of DLC characters that have just run the game, like Bardock, UI Goku, and now it's Lab Coat, and people are still playing your shit. Like, reward them. Like, give them what they need. The balance in that game too is just like, I commend people who still play, because the balance in that game is so volatile. Like, now people are calling it a party game because you can tag in from like special moves and a whole bunch of shit that I don't even understand. Lab Coat has like 17 lows. She's a block string that's like 5 lows. There's a touch of death that starts from a low, and then you do like 4 level 1s that chain into each other. The game is crazy right now, and the least you can do is at least announce that you're working on rollback, or that you're working on a new version, or you're going to nerf this character, or you're going to do something, because I just want to see that game flourish. The community is so passionate about it, and it's so fun to watch. Even if the games are super long, the only reason I'm used to watching that game is because at HBR and some of the other locals that I've gone to, they'll run DBFZ before Street Fighter, and the sets take like 25 minutes, so I'm always watching the game, or I used to be when I lived in Houston. And the amount of work that's gone into animating the characters and the stages and all the effects that happen when you like hit, you know, like the effect whenever you kill a character and they fly off the screen into another stage, that shit is sick. There's just so much work that's gone into the game for it to have delay-based netcode, you know? Like, you can make the game look so pretty and add so many characters, but the underlying issue is that people cannot play this shit on the internet, and it really sucks. Last game we're going to talk about is Tekken, and this one really sucks because it is the most played fighting game on Steam. It's also like one of the only 3D fighters that you have the option of playing. And lately it's been attracting a lot of casual players, people who don't play fighting games. I have friends who played League of Legends who bought it because they played it once at a friend's house, or they see a character that they like. And to be honest, it's one of the hardest games to learn, but it's not very hard to just get on and press some buttons. And if we're going to talk about rewarding players for sticking with your game, this is the one that needs it the most, because of the amount of DLC characters that have shifted the meta and just completely broken the game at times. There's Leroy, Fakuram, Akuma, Geese. There were just characters that were at a completely different level from the rest of the cast when they came out, all for like $4.99. And the only response you get from the developer is Tekken is 3. What the fuck does that even mean? Like, if I was a Tekken player and I saw that from a developer on Twitter, I would be pissed. Like, there's no like hope in sight after that. Like, what does this even mean? I want rollback netcode. I want to be able to play my game online, and you're gonna tell me it's 3? Like, I don't even know where to begin with that. They did have that netcode update not recently, but like a year ago, where they said they worked on it a little bit and it works from like US to Canada or something. I don't know what it was. Remember, they ran like some tests and they were advertising it as a selling point, and then people got on it and they're like, damn, this shit is actually good. And then it was like a few days later, people were like, nah, this shit is the same. Like, nothing really changed. And to this day, I don't know if they changed anything. I don't know if it's gotten better, if it's gotten worse, because I'm not willing to try it. But for all the people out there that want to play a 3D fighting game, that love Tekken and love the legacy of that game, I hope one day your developer listens to you and like gives you what you want. In Tekken 8, at least. I don't think you're going to get a Tekken 7 update that does that, because that game's been out, I think, before Street Fighter in arcades, right? I think it was out like in 2014 in Japanese arcades or something, and that came to console in 2016. I'm probably wrong about that, but it's a decently old game. I think Tekken 8 is on the horizon, and that's going to be your next hope for being able to play online reliably. Anyways, that's going to be it for me today. If you play one of these 3 games and I got something wrong, let me know in the comments below. Let's keep it constructive, and don't like call me names and shit. I'm a human too. I hope you enjoyed, and please consider subscribing. I'll talk to you again soon.